Hi, folks, and thanks for tuning in to another Watson Brothers video. Ian and I are here to discuss the stats for May of 2021. Yes, they were impressive, I guess, depending on which side of the fence you're on, if you're a buyer or a seller. We'll delve into that a little bit more. Ian, let's start it off.
So I don't want to bore you and inundate you with numbers that are completely off the charts. So we're really just going to talk about today inventory, because it's inventory that's driving everything in this marketplace. Single family homes right now, and our market has expanded. So from the border all the way up to Vernon, there are simply 489 houses for sale. So let's put that in perspective. Last year at this time, which was in the throes of COVID for sure, it was 1,040. If we go back 2 years, there will be 1,200 houses for sale. So we're running at about a third of the inventory we normally are, because I don't think we could compare this to last year, which was an anomaly. Townhouses, we're down about 50% inventory versus 2 years ago and 3 years ago. And apartments were down 50%. And that inventory decline is at the root of what Barrett and I are going to talk about in this segment.
Ian, one of the questions we get from our clients right now is, hey, the media is telling us that the market is slowing down. They're out there trying to purchase a home. They're watching prices still increase. And the reason being, if we looked at British Columbia overall, try and digest these numbers. May versus May, up 178% across the province. Average sale price up 26%. Sales volume up 251%. I've never said that number before. And talk, if you look back, they say March was the month of mayhem for real estate in British Columbia. Ian and I think in the central Okanagan, if we drilled down, would argue that it was probably April, slightly drifted into May. And then we've seen the market here. Yes, it's cooled. The phones are a little bit slower. And there's a couple of reasons for that. We don't think there's any less interest in the market. A lot of people have come and gone what they needed to do. There's some people out there that are buyers that we've just seen get fatigued. They've been in multiple offers. They've lost once, twice, 6, 7 times, and they just throw their arms up and go, I'm done with this. I'm going to let a little bit more reality come back to the market, if you want to look at it that way, and then they'll step back in. However, why aren't prices, if the market's slowing, dropping? And the reason there is, again, we say it over and over and over again, supply and demand. Until we have more than 450, give or take, single-family homes from Peachland to Oyama out to Rock Creek, inventory is driving the prices to not only just maintain, still continuing to drift up. We may hit $1 million for the average single-family home in the central Okanagan. That stat may come this summer. That will be an incredible stat. Ian, where can you expand further on this?
Here is the big indicator for me is that at this time last year, there was $857 million in sales in our real estate market here. Right now, we're closing in on 2.98 billion. I mean, that is an astonishing number. It's $2.1 billion more in sales this year than at the same time last year, which is incredible. And what does that lead to? That leads to, in certain segments of the market, and this is where Barrett and I can add value to your real estate portfolio, and we're calling it the gap. Again, last month, we talked about the gap between the resale market and the new home construction market. Now I want to talk about the gap in the rental market. So what's happening now is there's a lot of investors in the marketplace that are looking and saying, wow, I've been getting great rent out of this house that I bought 10 years ago. My 10-year-old house that I've owned is now worth the highest it's ever been. I'm going to get out and cash out. And so what they're doing is they're selling. That house is in turn being purchased by typically an end user, not another investor, because investors are slowly holding back right now, waiting for opportunities, and the housing prices are at the highest they've ever been. So for them to generate a reasonable rent out of it, the gap there is what we're going to talk about, is not there right now. So that investor sells their house. It is purchased by an end user, thereby taking that unit out of the rental stock market. And what that means is that right now, rents are based on the previous inventory of rental properties. Coming up and in the future, those rents have to rise because the rental market is getting squeezed even tighter than the residential market. So what do we think? We think that if house prices stabilize, there will be opportunities for investors to get back in again, because the rental rates have to increase. They have remained relatively stable. They've gone up slightly, but not at the 20 to 25% rate that the cost of the average house has gone up. So there is a gap coming, and we believe that there's going to be an opportunity for investors to get back in and buy 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom units, to buy homes with suites, to buy townhomes that are rentable.
The other thing that I always watch, and if you've watched these videos over the years, you know I watch Big White for my status on where the economy is. When there is under 100 listings at Big White, the market is doing well overall. Not Big White I'm talking about the central Okanagan. When it's over 100, the market is slowing. We're currently at 58 as of 5 minutes ago. So the market is still on fire. When that gets closer to 100, and I know you're saying, well, it's June, it's July, it's August, doesn't matter. That is my stat that has proved me or helped me over the years. 100 is my bench line.
All right, Barrett, we appreciate your benchmark and you keeping an eye on that benchmark. The only other thing I wanted to add about Big White as well is that we use that as a microcosm in terms of the rental stock. And we saw the same thing happen there over the last 2 years, whereby end users bought rental units, turned them into their product that they were using, and so the renters got displaced. And we saw last winter and the previous winter, there was very little to rent at Big White, and that will only continue. And now it's spilled into the valley. So yes, Big White is a great bellwether for the market. As always, if you need any information, whether it's at Big White or in the valley, 250-712-2222.